started as a personal communication tool, a bolt-on to texts and emails. But over the years, for many, social media became the primary method for keeping in touch. Over the last decade, brands and marketers realised they need to occupy this space too. They want to be where their customers are.
When businesses realized that a majority of their customers were on social media and spending more time there than on any other technology platform, 5-10 years ago, this switch in behavior occurred. That's when brands and businesses and marketers decided to invest heavily in social media and leverage it as a revenue-driving platform.
But the rise of social media for businesses has led to a rising number of security issues.
It's been a security issue since day one, but it hasn't had the big impact until more and more customer data, more and more business functions were using the platform. When that change occurred, that's when the security problem became undeniable, and it became a primary component of every CISO's, or Chief Information Security Officer's, security program.
One of the big issues is compromise through fraud.
Fraudulent accounts impersonating and spoofing brands, executives, or individuals, your coworkers, and then engaging with you, leveraging the trust that social media has, one of the reasons marketers love it, but using that for malicious purposes to get you to feel a false sense of security, drop your guard, click a URL, divulge personal information. Now we have a whole new area of customer data that is traveling across a completely unsecured network on Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, beyond the bounds of the internal security controls that we've implemented.
Part of the problem is that the likes of Facebook and Twitter are third-party products, not controlled internally. Businesses might not know exactly who has access to their company's social media accounts, and then there's another issue about how freely people share their own information.
You have the brand reputation risk, which contributes more to your revenue than anything today. Right? 86% of the S&P 500 valuation, or their assets, are intangible assets now, versus 17% 20 years ago. We've had this shift to reputation, to valuation being placed on my personal opinion. And lastly, you've got the risk of customer data loss. Customer data loss being a major component when we talk about GDPR in the United Kingdom and in Europe, that protecting that data is paramount. And that's one of your competitive advantages, is your customer data. And if your customer data is stolen on social media platforms, we've got a very big problem, and it happens every day.
It all sounds very serious, but just how big a problem is social media security?
Let's take our customer service Twitter account, for example. If that account is hijacked and taken over by the enemy, by a cyber criminal group, they have access to all of the sensitive customer data that's been shared with that Twitter account. And people share a significant amount of data, especially when they believe it's in private on Twitter and via direct messages. But even in the public world, they share too much data with these support accounts and social media accounts. If you look at some of the reporting that's out there, we're talking hundreds of thousands of social media accounts hacked every week.
And there have already been some very high-profile attacks.
Deloitte and Vivo were the two most recent attacks. Reporting shows that Deloitte was compromised via a fake Facebook profile that duped one of their employees, and Vivo was breached by a fake LinkedIn profile that duped one of their employees. And these breaches resulted in compromise at the system level. It's even easier to compromise those corporate accounts on social media platforms when you target. So you have two vectors that you have to really worry about, because one, I can compromise data and compromise your network. The other, I can compromise your corporate assets on these social channels.
If you think that a social media data breach is just a corporate inconvenience, think again.
If you look at stock prices of organizations like McDonald's and Crayola and others that have suffered account compromises, they drop. That public trust in their security drops, and therefore their market valuation drops. And one fun example is looking at the Associated Press. Years ago, when President Barack Obama was in office, somebody compromised the Associated Press's account. They tweeted out one simple message: the White House has been bombed. The Dow Jones Industrial dropped billions of dollars in a second. Now, did it recover? Mostly. But what was the aim of that compromise? To move the markets. Did somebody make some money along the way? I'm sure they did. Right? So you have a major effect, especially with a corporate account, an official account. That's the official communication tool of an organization. And we've seen social media become even more impactful in today's modern political environment, where it's the source of direct news from brands and individuals that hold positions of prominence.
So what do brands and companies need to do to smarten up their act?
Don't use password for the password. Don't use your dog's name, 123, right? There are some common sense things we can do. But the reality is, passwords shouldn't be shared. We shouldn't be knowing what these passwords are, and that should not be the only authentication mechanism to the social media profiles that we leverage. Two-factor authentication, leveraging your mobile device, a text message sent to you when you try to log in, is a secondary form of authentication that dramatically increases the security of those accounts. But again, that still doesn't give you assurance that that account won't be hacked if somebody's phished. Right? So we have to look at a multi-layered security approach, having good security hygiene on one side, but also monitoring and controlling access and engagement that takes place in and around our corporate assets. I would tell any organization that they need to get this Chief Information Security Officer involved today to look and review the social media posture of the organization from a security and risk perspective. We do this every day, thinking about how we can grow our business, how we can use the tool better to prioritize our spend. But security needs to be a primary focus.
Hello, I'm James Wright. Thanks for watching Marketing Media Money. To check out more online videos, just click on the boxes and don't forget to subscribe to the CNBC Live channel at the bottom of the screen.